guys, it's tatycokley and I'm back for another video, and as you can see the title, today we're having a serious conversation. I feel like a lot of times on my channel things are like really lighthearted, or I don't know, we've just never really gotten into like super serious things, especially things that affect me myself. And I know you guys are always like, oh, we want to know more about you, da da da. So this is as vulnerable as it gets. It's definitely going to be like a less edited video. It's just really like important for me to just have this conversation with you guys, so you guys don't feel like you're alone and you kind of get more insight into me. Because you know what's a really important reason why I'm making this video? Because a lot of you guys are always like, your life's so perfect, you have it all together, da da da, I wish I had your life, da da da. Not to say that I'm not blessed in like every form, but I'm also not perfect, and I go through stuff that I know a lot of you guys are going through, and I don't want you to look at me and be like, she has it all together all the time, because I don't at all. Like, a lot of the time I'm a mess. So it's really important for me to have this conversation with you guys, kind of open up about my own struggles as well as things that I do that help me, processes that I've gone through, and just mental health in general. We're definitely skipping my intro today because it's not that type of vibe. It's not like, make sure you subscribe. I mean, you're still free to subscribe. If you guys see like little flakes and stuff rolling around, it's just because I took a bunch of clothes out and they're flying around. They always fly around in here when I bust bags open. Just a disclaimer for this video, I kind of want to give like a trigger warning. I will be talking about anxiety, anxiety/panic attacks, just mental health in general, and just trauma, I guess. So if any of those things are going to trigger you or bring you to a mental space that is not healthy for you right now, you're not prepared for, feel free to click off this video. I just want to make sure I put that disclaimer out. So I guess let's just get into this. Where do I even start? I'm already getting anxiety even having this conversation, because it's just such a vulnerable, it's just a vulnerable conversation to have. Like, it's very personal to me, so bear with me. So basically what I want to start this off with is, I know everybody's mental health is kind of struggling right now being in quarantine, and I'm here for you guys. I'll list some resources in my description box as well if you need further help. So then on to me. Let me also say this: I've avoided actually getting diagnosed for a very long time, only because when you think of health, you think of like physical health, you think of things like that. So anytime I'm at the doctor or anything, I never bring it up, because I'm like, I'm here for my heart or my lungs or whatever. So you never bring it up, but it's really important to. And like, that's somewhere that like I've let you guys down, because like I'm not really, I mean, it's not that I'm not taking my own mental health serious, because I'm dealing with it in my own way, but it's important to get diagnosed. So this is me self-diagnosing, but you'll understand why it's not really a question. But yeah, make sure if you guys are feeling symptoms and stuff like that to talk to your doctor and get diagnosed, because it's hard to work with something when you don't know what you're working with, especially because it could be like a secondary effect of something else. So just make sure you guys are actually getting diagnosed. I will as soon as this stuff gets lifted. Okay, so the biggest thing for me personally that I deal with is anxiety. So I mentioned this very briefly, like kind of on purpose, because I didn't feel like going into it. I mentioned this very briefly in my quarantine and chill video, but yeah, so that's something that I've dealt with for years. My anxiety, first of all, my mom has anxiety, and she had that kind of onset at the same age for me. So mental health issues and things like that are definitely hereditary, but also I've had my own experiences and traumas in life that have brought about this anxiety. And I'm not trying to go into all of the things, because we could be here all day. Like, I'm not trying to go into all the things that have happened to me, but I will tell you kind of the gist of why I have that anxiety from those traumas. So basically, the traumas and things that have happened in my life when I was younger, all of them were out of my control. So now my anxiety stems a lot from feeling like I'm back in that place, if that makes sense. Anxiety in general is like fear of the unknown, right? So you're fearing what hasn't happened yet. So for me, it's whenever I'm in a place again of being vulnerable where I'm out of control, or I feel helpless, or I feel like I can't help those around me, I can't control the situation, I'm not like, you know what I'm saying, if this makes any sense. And I think that's just because with a lot of the like trauma, again, like with the traumas and stuff that has happened in my life, I wasn't prepared ever. I never saw them coming. So when those type of things happen as a child, for me it affected me in the way of like, now I want to always be prepared for the worst. And that doesn't mean I'm like pessimistic at all, because I'm so optimistic, like always, but I always try to like, I feel like I'm always walking on eggshells, and I'm always trying to like be prepared for something bad to happen, because I've seen the effects when I'm unprepared, if that makes sense. It's kind of unconscious at this point, like the thought will just cross my mind without me trying to think about that, and then it's like I can't get it out, like the visual. Anytime I'm in a situation like that, my anxiety flares. Again, something that's like a big misconception is that like one person's experience is everybody's experience, and that's not it. Symptoms are not the same for everybody. There's a general, you know, consensus, but it's not, everybody doesn't have the same story. So for me, anxiety looks like my heart racing. It looks like maybe sweating if it's like really serious. It looks like hyperventilating. It looks like just like fluttering around the room, like trying to find something to focus on. You can physically see me like panicking. So then that brings me into panic attacks, which comes from when my anxiety kind of surpasses that level. I've experienced several of them in my life. I'm not gonna go into like, this time it was this and this time it was this. I'm just sharing this information with you guys so you don't feel alone and you kind of learn a little bit more about me. But anyway, when I first had one, I did everything the wrong way. So I didn't know what was going on. So I was at college, I was by myself. I definitely could have turned to the friends that I had, but I'm not the type of person to put myself on other people or ask for help when you need it, which is extremely important, and I don't want you guys to follow that. Ask for help. When you need help, ask for help. That's what the people in your life are there for. And if you don't have strong support system, there is help online. There are therapists, there are things and resources that you can get to, and you need to get to it because you're not by yourself, okay? Okay, but I didn't do that, right? I remember I just had a lot going on. It was too much going on. I had too much on my plate. I was just like in an emotional bad place. So I was in the shower and I had a panic attack, and I just like fell to the floor, and I was hyperventilating, and I was like trying to grab for something just to like calm me down. I was freaking out. I was literally panicking. And that was a very scary time because, okay, I did not want to cry in this video. Okay, so that was a very scary time because I was doing it wrong. So I'm in this tiny shower, like literally when you're in the shower, your butt is like on the curtain sheet thing. So it's like there's no room in there. So when, especially for me, when you're panicking, it's just not great to be like in a tiny space, because now you have nowhere to go. Like it is like closing in on you almost. That just made it worse. And then I didn't give myself the proper time to like come down from it or anything. I just like got my book bag and went and did work with my friends and like didn't say anything about it. Not a great example of taking care of mental health. I'm telling you guys that story because after several other panicking moments and anxiety attacks, I have learned things that you should not do. So if you're having a panic attack or you've experienced them before, I would suggest you to not be in a tiny restricting place, because it's not, you need to be out. Like you don't need to be in a tiny little box. That's not where you need to be. And you also need to make sure that if you have support, get it, tell somebody. Also, something I've learned from that is making sure I don't let my responsibilities pile up to the point where I do feel helpless, or I do feel out of control, or I don't build enough time for myself to deal with my own self. Does that make sense? I don't build enough time for myself to breathe, to, you know, deal with like self-care. Like I didn't have any time to do that. It was just like school while I was in like this shaky mental place. So there was that. Obviously, I feel like it's funny when people talk about like mental health where they're just like kind of get over it type of thing, and it's not something you get over. This is kind of like a lifelong thing that you kind of manage. In learning to manage my anxiety, actually, I won't even lie to you, I was pushing it. So like even when that happened, I still was not putting my mental health in first place. I kind of was just like, it is what it is, just hoping I wouldn't be in that space again. And obviously you then fall in that place again. So boom, had another one, spaced out. but still. So then I got to the point where it wasn't even when my responsibilities were overflowing. It was even when I still had a lot of responsibilities and then like something else was triggering me. So I had another situation like that with my boyfriend, and he was going somewhere, and I was just like, I panicked because I was like, I'm not gonna be able to help or do anything if something goes wrong. And like, it just got to a point where I was full on hyperventilating, tears just rolling out my eyes. I wasn't even talking to him, I wasn't with him, I was just by myself. We were texting, but I was full on hyperventilating, tears rolling down my eyes. I wasn't even like, that's the thing, I wasn't emotional. I wasn't like, ooh, like crying. It was like my body was shaking, and I was so like, the anxiety was so high that my body was like forcing a response out of me, if that makes sense. And I was just crying, like tears, but my face was straight. And then my best friend Noelle, I was texting her and I told her I'm about to have a panic attack. And so she called me, and just seeing her name on the phone and like my phone vibrate just shook me. And as soon as I answered it, I just broke, and it was like my highest point of hyperventilating, crying, all that stuff. So she advised me to like get on the floor, like just feel something and like remind yourself that like this is life, and like kind of cuddle myself like a baby almost, and just focus on my chest rising and my chest falling. So that was really helpful for me in just bringing my anxiety down and bringing my breathing back to normal. It's just like breathing in, holding that, and then breathing out, and just kind of focusing on the rise and fall of my chest, just breathing and just like recentering myself. Also, a lot of essential oils and stuff are really good with things like that, like lavender. But yeah, so that's what helped me personally. So now the next time I am in a position like that, I will know what to do. Once that happened, honestly, I'm just being honest, it scared me, because I was like, whoa, I never had one that bad, I don't think. Yeah, so it scared me. And so then after that, I made it a real point to make sure I worked on myself, because child, I really worked on like my inner child, which I'll talk about. There's a lot of stuff I'll talk about on this channel like after this, but yeah, I just worked on those traumas and just worked on letting go. So if you have anxiety, like if you have anxiety in general, and if your anxiety is stemming from some sort of trauma or like things in your childhood, stuff like that, for me, digging into those and dealing with them and learning to let go really helped me. So for example, like with the control and like the helplessness and I like slowly, not just like cold turkey, I slowly began like backing off of everything and just letting things be, and it just helped me so much, because I didn't feel like I had to be like handling everything and everybody. Like I don't, and it really helped me. I want you guys to, you know, dig into things that you might be dealing with and things that might have caused the anxiety you're dealing with now, or other issues that you're dealing with, and try to heal them. Like try to heal your inner child as best you can by, for me, it's like kind of like exposure therapy, which again, well, there's a lot of stuff we'll talk about, but where you're slowly like putting yourself in those uncomfortable positions to eventually become comfortable in those positions. And the thing about mental health is like, it's not monolithic. It's just not like, it's not the same all the time. You have your ups and downs, you have your great days and your bad days. You might have great years and bad years, or great months and bad months. But at the end of the day, I just don't like the narrative that I've kind of seen about it. I've seen so many of you guys in my comments being like, you have it all together, you know, you don't have any problems, and I'm just like, no, I really do. And I feel like nobody, not that nobody talks about it, because there are great people who talk about that stuff on these platforms, but I do feel like with a lot of influencers, it is like, my life's great all the time, you know what I mean? And I'm victim to that, because I've never talked to you guys about this. Being vulnerable is scary, especially in front of how many, 600,000 people. That's really scary, to put yourself out there and be like, hey, here's my like most vulnerable information, do what you will. It's scary, and you know, there's some evil people in this world that will, I'm sure, try to poke at that for me, but I'm willing to take that if I know that you guys will feel safer. I don't know why I'm getting like emotional. Yeah, it's just important to me because I felt like if I talked about it, then those of you that do deal with these things will feel like you're not alone, will feel safer. And I want you to recognize that just because people are influencers or celebrities or anything at all, or anybody that you admire, does not mean that you're not both human beings. And I want to make sure you guys can see yourself within these human beings and like don't put them on such a platform and feel like your life sucks and like your mental health or you're crazy or anything, because a lot of these people deal with it. A lot of my peers deal with it in the influencer space. It's scary to talk about it in front of people because people like to use your insecurities and your vulnerabilities against you. I felt confident enough about it, and I felt that it was important enough for me to put myself out there. So just some other anxiety tips and tricks and stuff like that is finding something to focus on. Like I told you guys, when I'm freaking out, I'm like like just trying to find something. So really like the breathing and just focusing in on one thing can really recenter you. Again, with like the essential oils and things like that, if that is something that you are comfortable with, as well as like repeating something to yourself. Especially for me, if I'm panicking about something that like hasn't happened, I will try to repeat myself like this has not happened, trying to recenter myself and remind myself that like you've just come up with this possibility that's like rare to happen, but you think this might happen, so now you're in a panic. It's something that a lot of people deal with. In the US alone, anxiety is the most common mental health issue, like literally. So the fact that I like haven't seen a lot on it just like bothered me, because it's like, then like where do y'all go? Where do I go, you know? So I wanted you guys to feel like, hey, I'm right here. Like, I'm right here with you guys. I'm going through it with you. I'm doing the work just like you guys are. I want to encourage you guys to do the work. I want to encourage you guys to get diagnosed. Do not try to self-diagnose like me. Don't try to push it off. Make sure you guys are utilizing your support systems where you can. Make sure you are also your biggest support system. Just keep going. Like, just keep going. If you guys have like other questions about how I deal with it, or anything at all about what I've talked about in the video, feel free to comment down below. I would love for us to all band together and be a support system for one another. Look how many people we have in our family alone who can all be a support system for each other, and that's really what I wanted for this channel in the first place, is just for this to be a safe space for you guys to come and leave better than you came and just feel welcome and warm. And I feel like this will hopefully push us in that direction, because I know a lot of times we talk about boys and relationships and confidence and stuff, but this is really important too. So I hope this really my message got across. I hope you guys maybe feel a little bit better, maybe don't feel alone, because you're not alone. You got all of us. And yeah, let's have a nice conversation in the comment section. I'm not doing my outro, but I love you guys so much. Thank you guys for being my support system, and I appreciate you guys so much, and I guess I will see you guys in my next one.